Hello again, ball watchers. Long time no chat. Actually, just kidding. We were just with you all a couple days ago, but that is just going to be the theme running into the rest of the season because we've got game after game after game. Could be worse though. You could be a team like Inter Miami who's basically going to play Wednesday, Saturday for the rest of the season. So for all those Golden Boot predictions, it's going to be tough to see if they've got the legs in them for, especially for Messi. But hey, Jake here, Justin, ball watching. We are back for an official preview of our upcoming match against Orlando City SC, a fellow city brother in the MLS. There's not a whole lot of them, surprisingly. But with that said, we are heading down southeast for this fixture away. But Justin, we've got some fun, exciting way to start this show. We did commit to doing a giveaway because no one guessed 9 goals, total goals for the last fixture against. Wow. Whoa, am I blanking on this? Austin, man, dude, this season just scrambled my mind. But yes, Austin, they were our last victim. Austin, no one guessed 9 goals. So anyway, we are giving this away live here now. The challenge was to go down and put a comment, your funniest comment for your favorite city player and why. And we picked the best one. And we've got a winner here, Justin. I think one that we're pretty confident in. So I want to let you read it out and we'll work with you offline to get the gift card to you.
Yeah, so there were some good ones, Jake. Before we touch on the winner, I feel like there was a lot of different ones for different reasons. I thought one of the themes that I saw was that the personality of these guys on not only the skill on the field, but talking about their personality on and off the field and how good of a player Leuven is to the fans and how big Celio smiles, and talking about AZ, my second favorite one, sorry to give it away, was the guy that said that he's the embodiment of a human fidget spinner, which I thought was hilarious. But it just describes his personality. And I thought that was great to see out of the people. But our winner is Stubby. And his comment was, favorite player is Berkey, even though my wife said she would leave me for the handsome fella. And then multiple people were like, yeah, same. And then Rebaset said, I'd leave my wife for Berkey at this point. And so I just thought it was an interaction with everybody else that made me crack up. So congrats to Stubby. We will figure out who that is on YouTube.
Yeah, congrats, Stubby. That was hilarious. That was the first thing I read this morning. Justin sent me a bunch of the best ones and cracked me up at the ripe hour of 5:30. So congrats to you. You've won a $50 gift card to the pitch. We'll work with you, like Justin said, to get that gift card to you. It'll come via the mail. So that said, let's move on, Justin, here into I totally realized as I was listening back to our episode and just doing like the editing for this, we just glossed over the League's Cup that wrapped up this weekend, which was hard because that was a memorable final.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we just had so much to talk about from the Austin game, but the final game was insane to cap off what I would still consider a very exciting midseason tournament. And I'm hoping the MLS looks at this as a plus. So Nashville welcomed Messi and friends for the final match. Coming into the final, Miami had scored 4 goals in 4 of the last 5 games with 3 goals in the other game, which is just absurd, and all against MLS teams. So that's why so many people are so hot on this Golden Boot that you mentioned. While Nashville just knocked off Minnesota United 5-0, and then in the semis took down Monterrey 2-0, the last Liga MX team. So quickly, there was a goal in the 23rd minute. Who else besides Messi? He gets a little cleaned up ball at the top of the 18. Just dances very easily around Walker Zimmerman. That could be scary if he does play again in the World Cup, and puts a bender in the upper 90. Just made it look so easy. 57th was a bounce back from Nashville. Fafa gets his head on a ball. It's kind of like a sloppy, right? No one could really clear it, and he just kind of like half dives on his knees and puts it away. Messi puts a bender that hits the post literally square in the 70th minute. I thought for sure he was getting another brace. And then you already mentioned it. One of the best parts about this game was the 90th plus 3. There's only 3 minutes of stoppage time. So basically the last kick of the ball, Busquets cheaps in Campana, who's 1v1 with the keeper. He chips the keeper, but it's going a little wide. The defender trips over the keeper who's laying down trying to make a save. And Campana's like stumbling, trying to get there, slides and kicks it off the outside of the post, and it goes wide for a goal kick. And then that takes us to PKs, and Miami wins it. And an exciting PKs as well of 10-9 after 11 rounds. Keeper versus keeper, Calendar versus Panacaco. I forgot what I was.
Panacaco, I think his name is. Yeah.
And Calendar wins that battle. He roofs one on the left side and then saves Panacaco. So that's how Miami won it.
Oh my God. So I was watching it live with my wife and her friend, and it's not often that you get two gals like that to watch a soccer game, but they were enthralled by what was going on. For me, it was just the best version of an advertisement for soccer in the States here, because it was end to end action. And in fact, when we were watching it, it was Nashville kind of taking it to Inter Miami for a lot of the end of that second half. And man, they looked so good, and they had such a hard road to get to the final compared to Miami's. I felt for him at the end there, but that play to end the regular time of the game was heart pounding. I didn't really have a dog in the fight. I was open to Nashville winning, but obviously it would complete the story for Messi to come in and just win the League's Cup. And to have Campana just slide, it was a hard angle for sure. Slide and just nick that off the post, and just laying there, just gasping for air. Could have won, the club's first major trophy, and, millions of dollars in their pockets. Man, I was bummed for them, and PKs didn't disappoint either. I think it was one of the best PK competitions I've ever seen. The quality on these finishes, every single PK was hit with just venom into the corner, where I just didn't know who was going to save anything until, of course, Calendar steps up, like you said, just pulled the classic goalie, lean over the ball, literally take a goal kick into the back of the net as hard as you can. And I think Panico was a little bit in his head. You could see him talking to himself under his breath as he was leading up to that. Really unfortunate way to go end it. But what a storybook ending. My highlight of the game, though, was not talked about, and that was Messi in the trophy celebration taking the captain's armband off and giving to Yedlin, which Yedlin was the captain, for those that don't know, before Messi arrived, and I think he just vacated that openly for Messi to kind of clear the path. Not that I think Messi's type of guy that comes in saying, I'm not coming if we don't give me the captain's armband, but a legend of the game. I think it makes a lot of sense too, and he is a leader from a lot of things that we see. But giving it back to Yedlin to accept the trophy on Inter Miami's behalf, their first club trophy, and he's been there since their inception. So what a gentleman and class act move to do. Yedlin initially kind of was like, no, like, no. And Messi just insisted. And in that vein, Yedlin gets to hoist the trophy. Just what a guy, man. You run out of positive things to say about him. Is he perfect? No. I know he's got the tax evasion stuff and other things going on, but sporting aside, I just feel like the difference between him and Ronaldo is things like that. It's the intangibles. It's the leadership. It's how he carries himself is so not how you're used to seeing stars do it.
It's his humbleness, right? I think when the first week he was there, he was shopping at a Publix, and you could like zoom in on the cart, and the man had tricks in the cart and was just like walking around. And then I would say also his first goal he dedicated to a teammate that he just met a week before who tore his ACL and had been struggling. And it's like, there's nothing really bad to say about Messi. Fine, tax evasion. The man's just trying to keep his money.
Right.
Sorry, I don't approve of tax evasion. I definitely do not. I do that for a living. So try to find things like that. So I don't approve of it.
Yeah,
but I definitely I kind of get it.
That hits home for you. Well, I'll get off my soapbox. What a final it was. I'm looking forward to seeing more Leagues Cup in the future, and hopefully we can make it a little bit further next year if they bring this back around for us. But any other thoughts from Austin FC, Justin, as we look to move on from this fixture? Honestly, I don't have much. I think we hit it pretty well in the recap. But for me, I am just really excited to get this team healthy and get everyone 100% available and back into fitness. It's going to feel like summer signings almost at this point, where we've just bolstered the squad with a great center back, a great forward in Klaus. And and we got Thorson, obviously, as well as Mark and Nick, who we're yet to see. But I'm excited for that. I do think the rankings kind of reflect my current mentality as well in terms of where we're at. We're actually at 5th in both MLS power rankings and ESPN power rankings, which I think is about fair, because the East is just stacked beyond belief right now. And I think there's some West teams that are just kind of starting to wake up, and they're going to push us pretty hard down the stretch.
No, I completely agree, because when I was looking at this and doing the magic number for Orlando, specifically for them, and talking about that, they have a lot of points that they still need to get to like lock in these spots. And they're I think tied for 4th right now and really making a push. So it's one of those teams. It's one of those, just the East has been kind of beating up on the West to gain those points and beating up on the teams lower down the list. But Otherwise, no. Besides that, other news, is there 100% availability? I would assume so at this point.
It is looking like 100% availability in terms of injury, unless anything new has happened in the last day or two. But Blum is going to miss Orlando, unfortunately, with yellow card accumulation.
Okay. Yep. I forgot about that. And then another quick city stat as well. Tyson Pierce is signing as our third homegrown. Another kid that is just extremely young. I think he kind of looks like Caden Glover, to be honest.
Yeah, he does.
When they put a picture up, I'm like, did they just reuse the picture? No, I'm kidding, but I'm excited. I mean, keeping these guys and locking them in long term is just a great investment in the club.
It is. I mean, and you got to imagine. I mean, because there's a sporting and a business side to all of these. Obviously, he's shown quality that's going to eventually get him into the first team. You know, if that path is to be trodden like that. The other side of this is that this is a guy that you developed, or at least you had a hand in developing. I know our academy's pretty new still, but you had a hand in developing, and the cost at bringing those players up through that system versus acquiring that type of talent from outside the system is remarkably different. So for us to be able to develop these guys, and if Tyson wants to go overseas at some point or go see the pastures greener somewhere else at some point, like that's a good business decision to sign from within, and then you really just net a lot of that money on the back end from the business side. So I think it's just a great thing to see us prioritizing homegrown players and giving them a chance, because you love to see the St. Louis blood. And in that light, Justin, St. Louis is bringing to light in high school soccer this new STL, or St. Louis Champions League, which we just saw Tom Timmerman kind of broke some of the news on this, but I want to keep it brief here because I know we got to move on to the preview. But really, this is going to be an in-season tournament for high school soccer where, regardless of class, you're able to get a chance to play against the other top teams. So really, it's not the state tournament. It's going to be an in-season kind of Champions League style tournament with 16 teams starting in the fall of 24 for boys, girls, and spring of 25, where the winners of the Class 3 and Class 4 district tournaments get in the first 7 spots of this Champions League, and the rest of the 9 left spots are given to at-large teams who are, I guess, going to be determined by this MISHA, Missouri kind of high school soccer coach association. So all that to say, it's cool. I like this idea. We've talked about this, Justin, like teams that, you meet guys from playing club ball from all these different schools, and they're like, oh, my school would beat up yours. And I'm like, no, you don't, because like we're in the big boy school district and you are not. And there's no way that you're able to do that. Like DeSmet Jesuit would have just pounded Borgia.
Yeah. Can't wait to see it. That's what I'm going to say. So you have, if it was happening this year, the 7 would be Limburg, CBC, Chaminade, St. Dominic, Fort Zumwalt East, Webster, and Whitfield. Just FYI, Jake, we beat St. Dominic when I was in high school. So beating up on us. Yeah, the number 1 at large is going to be St. Francis Borgia. Absolutely. But it's really, no, in all seriousness, it is going to kind of make high school soccer a little bit more exciting again. And then you kind of do away with Jake thinking he can beat up because he's in the bigger school. So congrats on going to a school 3 times the size with all males. So, and then potential to have the final at City Park. So let's get into what this episode actually is now that we're 14 minutes in.
Yeah, well, let's do it. So history. So Orlando City is a team that was beginning play in 2015. They were the 21st team coming to the MLS, replacing the USL Pro team of the same name. They were the USL Open Cup champions last year, actually. So they had their first major trophy for the club. And you can't talk about Orlando without talking about Kaká. What a legend of the game. I mean, he's probably one of the best players, at least of his generation. I when I was looking at this guy, he won a World Cup, he won the Champions League, and he won a Ballon d'Or. Like, what a legend of the game. And he had actually a pretty decent career for Orlando as well. So what a signature signing for him. But otherwise, some fun St. Louis connections to make before we jump into Orlando here, Justin, is Bobby Murphy, the current coach of City 2, has twice, not once, twice interim coached this club, which is crazy, for a total of 7 games. And Nico Gioacchini was obviously on Orlando before we selected him in this past year's expansion draft. So we got a little bit of history with Orlando. I couldn't find any blood St. Louis connections there.
No, I mean, they're front of like one of the newer teams. So I will say it's not going to have a whole lot of history that we can dig into. But we can talk about what history they've had so far this season. Have we played them yet? The answer is no. So going into what they have right now, they have the record. They have 32 points, and then 32 points, 995, right? Win-loss draw?
Let me look.
And then
Justin,
fifth in the West? I'm almost positive this was there, Jake.
no, because they're in the East. They have a total of 40 points right now, and they have an 11-7-6 record, win, draw, loss. So obviously a team that's doing pretty well for the East. They're in fourth place right now, but hanging on to that pretty tightly because you're looking at the East. I mean, obviously Cincinnati running away with 51 points, but below that with the Revs, the Union, Orlando, Columbus, Nashville, all within like 5 points of each other. So it's super, super tight at the top of the East side.
No, that makes sense. And that's why we've been talking about this. So I'll take a quick touch on it. We can go back to some of their key wins and losses. But so for their magic number right now, with them having 40 points, their current points per match is 1.67. They have 10 games left. So that means their attainable points, if they keep that same pace, is 17 points, which fits pretty similarly into our model. So with them being in fourth spot, their magic number to do round one with home field advantage is 16 points. So they have to keep that same pace to hold that spot. So it makes sense. Round one without home field advantage, which would be the 7th spot, is 13 total points. And then also round one wild card, which would be the 9th spot, is just 6 points there. So it's one of those where we talked about when we look at it, if you do that same math for someone in the West, it's less points because we don't have teams like Cincinnati that already are in the 50s with the points and things like that. And I would say some of the notable ones, Jake, they just beat Chicago 3-1. They lost to Miami 3-1. And then they also, when we look back into MLS specific games, lost to Real Salt Lake 4-0 right before they beat up on Toronto 4-0. So they've had some pretty crazy swings. Tied Philadelphia at home, lost at New England Revolution 3-1. And so it seems like they've been beating teams they should beat.
Yeah.
They haven't been hanging with the big boys.
And they haven't really been able to establish a home field dominance either. They got a record of 5-3-4 at home versus a 6-3-3 away. Which I think could play to our advantage. It's not like they've just obviously dominated at home. So I'm looking forward to seeing if we can turn that into an advantage for us. But this team boasts some pretty exciting players. Facundo Torres being one of the biggest. He's one of the best probably attacking midfielders in the league. He's a 23-year-old Uruguayan and went to the World Cup this last year. He's their highest rated player so far this season. He's played in 21 of their 24 games. Very, very important player for them. 8 goals, 4 assists. Has second most shots in the team, and only 15 of those being on target. He's very lethal, obviously, with his opportunities. He's got a big transfer market value. I was looking at this beforehand. Obviously, with this year, and I guess the last year or so, he's risen that from 7 mil to 14. So this is a guy I know, being an Arsenal fan, has been tracked by us at least, and I'm sure he's got an eye on overseas eventually, maybe Europe.
Yeah, and I think in a similar way, not as large, but Duncan McGuire, 22-year-old American, he also has 8 goals with 2 assists, with only 24 shots, with 16 of those on target. So he takes less shots, but gets them and kind of creates better chances. And he's tied for the MLS lead in goals plus assists per 90. That's because he's played in 20 games, but only starting 10 of those. So 887 minutes total. He has 8 goals and 2 assists. That's less minutes than Thomas Ostrak has for us. Just to put that in perspective, that man is just working at a very high rate while he's out there. And it's shown in his transfer market value as well. It's multiplied by 8 times just in the last 5 months. On March 31st, he was ranked about $250,000 worth. Now he's at $2 million. So a guy that's really taken his stock up this year as well.
And did they draft him this year? I want to say that he was drafted from was it Creighton? Yeah, he was
Duncan
drafted.
McGuire may be the most Creighton, Omaha, Nebraska name you can.
I think he was, and that's a good call. He was selected.
Yeah, he was in 2023 draft.
That's nuts, man. Wait, was that our pick?
No.
I know
we had the first overall pick. All right, I'm going to let you do a little bit more looking on this. I'm going to take us through to
overall. 6th overall. Sorry. Yeah, but still, what a I mean, for teams that don't get much value from the super draft, I mean, obviously, like we sent away like our pick, he's kind of an outlier, I would say, in terms of the immediate value you might get from some of these players. So that's cool. But Wilder Cartagena, I'm pulling a Justin there. Yeah, central defensive midfielder for them. He's a 20-year-old from Peru, so he's Peruvian. And he's got an goal and assists this season, but he's really more of the behind-the-scenes guy, leading in pass percent, tackles, fouls committed as well. So he's kind of the disruptor in the midfield, kind of plays a similar role. Kind of think of him like a Blum from obviously our team here. But honorable mentions, they've got some good depth as well. Ivan Angelo is a left winger for them, 4 goals, 5 assists, playing in most of their games this season. Martin Ojeda, 4 goals, 8 assists, leads the team in shots and shots on target. And then they have Pedro Galese, who I know has been a solid goalkeeper in the past for them, but not posting the best record this season for them. He started 21 of 21 games played, only allowing 23 goals, 7 clean sheets, but it's more goals against than I think they would like to allow. So interesting. He's not very high in the save charts, and we'll get into that here in the stats. But I was expecting more from a goalkeeper of his caliber that I feel like I see in the highlights. But style-wise, let's talk about this team, head coached by Oscar Pareja. So Oscar Pareja, I feel like you might know where he's from. Colombia, came up in the Independiente Medellin club youth system, where obviously Pablo Escobar, Medellin, for any of my Narcos fans out there, or any Pablo Escobar documentaries. He did come to MLS, though, to play for New England and FC Dallas before literally retiring in 05 and making the transition, or not even 05, he was older than that, but making the transition from Dallas into coaching in Dallas. So he started there as an assistant coach for a couple different teams, but he also coached the US U17 down in Bradenton, Florida, and Dallas again before moving into head coaching for Colorado, Dallas, Tijuana, most recently prior to joining Orlando, where he now has coached, I believe, 135 matches and a 55, 40, and 40 record. So not bad. Pretty actually good success, I would say.
Yeah, and I think the style that he's been playing has worked for him. So 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, and they really sit back and kind of soak up the pressure, which we will definitely be bringing down in Orlando before hitting us on the counter. So that's one thing that I feel like we've been a little bit weaker at, and we'll talk about that and some of the things we really need to focus on in this game. But they kind of attack through the middle and the left mostly, big on through balls, which we talked about, which I'm intrigued to see center back wise, if it's going to be Parker and Nilsson, who are going to play on the wings. I would think Akil Watts have a little speed there. Maybe John Bell on the left, but we'll touch on that as well. Additional thoughts: they use the width effectively, possess the ball, cross often, and feature a high line on defense. So once they do get up the field, like they soak in that pressure and go, everybody's scooting up and condensing that space.
Yeah, and Austin, Austin was obviously a very different team to this. I think Orlando probably has a little bit more of a well-rounded team, because I think Austin, we knew the defense would be pretty suspect coming in, but Orlando has a little bit more of that roundedness. So, generally looking at them, obviously we talked about it. They're fighting for a top 4 spot to lock in home field for round 1 in the Eastern Conference, which is no easy task. Their strengths, I would say, are really creating chances in open play. Through balls, like you mentioned, their finishing is pretty solid. And this is a team that does not mind being down. They're resilient. They can come back from down, like Chicago you just mentioned they beat. They were down 1-0 to start that game, and they won 3-1. So they are number 10 currently in the MLS power rankings. Last 5 at home, they're boasting a draw, win, win. So they haven't lost in the last 5 at home, and they're averaging about 1.58 points per match at home with a positive 6 goal differential. So not crazy. I think ours would be much higher. I don't have ours on hand at this point, but it's pretty solid. And you look at them as an offensive team, they're about average in terms of XG in goals for 1.43 per 90, but goals for slightly outperforming that, which puts them at number 8 in the MLS for goals for per game. At home, it's not like it's much better. They're about average at home. They've scored just above, or just under half amount of their goals for at home, which is just weird to think about. The teams, it's almost like Real Salt Lake, like just having this incredible away record. They're not like that exactly, or to that level, but they demonstrate an ability to play both home and away pretty strong games. This is an interesting stat here, Justin. The first time I'm happy to say that their strongest suit in goals for is not in the last 10 or 15 minutes. It is actually 27% of their goals for are being scored in the 51st to 60th, which is still scary, but not as scary.
No, it gives us a little bit, 5 minutes to kind of get warm into the game again. Yeah. And I feel like we're not that bad at that point in the game. It's usually, like you said, right in the beginning, end of half, or beginning, end of the game. So 32 of their 37 goals have been inside the 19, with 9 of them being headers and 5 are outside of the 18. They're number 6 in goals from counterattacks, from live balls, number 2 from dead balls, and number 3 from take-ons individually. So you know that they have a high-powered. I mean, we talked about the amount of goals and assists on all the honorable mention guys, not even the top 3 that we wanted to touch on. Number 6 in through balls, top 10 in short passes, which is like 5 to 15 yards or so. Also top 10 in passes into the final third and penalty area, which we've talked about that with through balls, and that would include the shorts there. 6th most in shots on target, number 1 in goals per shot ratio of 0.13, and 4th highest in shots on target percentage. They keep about 53% possession, top 10 in the attacking third, but I mean, we're fine with being the lesser of the two in percentage of possession.
Yeah, this one's gonna be an interesting tale because I don't think they play you out of the park on passes. They do have a higher possession at home, but it's not like they play the most amount of passes that we've seen before. So we'll see who really ends up dictating this game in terms of the pace and the energy. But defensively, again, about average defensively when you look at expected goals against, they come in at number 15 there. And then goals against per game, the actual output is 1.21, which is the 8th best in the league. So pretty solid defensively and sturdy. And you look at their goals against, they've allowed 29 this season. Only 12 of those have come at home. So they're a little bit better at home. And when you look at when they're most likely to concede, which is what we need to care about here, about a quarter of their goals that they concede come in the 76th to 90th minute. So the last 15 minutes. But if you take a click out of that really quick, second half specifically is when 2/3 of the goals go in against them. So second half is going to be one that you know that City's looking at to be very dangerous on, because they seem to kind of at least lose some sort of mental edge then, because there's no other way to explain that. Why do 2/3 of your goals go in the second half? Just like you can't explain ours the last 10 minutes. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping we can take advantage of that.
Yeah, and so they concede, like we already talked about every 90 minutes. They're bottom 10 in tackles. They're highest up in rankings in attacking the third, but still not a whole lot there. What is this? 42% CS rate at home?
Yeah, clean sheets. Like they, for some reason, have a lot of clean sheets at home. Yeah.
And then I'll let you. You always love this acronym down here.
Bring it on. So Galese, their goalkeeper, has his post shot XG minus goals against at minus 1.1. And just a reminder, post shot XG is really just XG with the added element of basing that rating on how likely the goalkeeper is to save the shot. So you kind of layer on an additional level here of fun, Justin. I know you love this stat, but minus 1.1 is really not too much. It's really just saying that this Galese guy is slightly below average in terms of his goalkeeping ability so far this season. Berkey is at plus 6.8. I really just simplify this all down to Berkey's effectively prevented almost 7 goals by what he's been able to do, which I think might be kind of undershooting it, honestly.
I would agree. I feel like he's outperforming that. I feel like he's prevented us from dropping 7 points at least, if not 10. So put that in there with goals as well. But so that's enough about them. What do we need to do in this game? A couple of quick facts. Home and away. City is second best away in the MLS at 5-5-4. In the West, third best overall, just behind Orlando in RSL, who are 6-3-3 away. But Orlando will be at home. So where are they? They are middle of the pack at home. They are 5-3-4. I would put them probably about 14th or so. There in the last 5 games, I did include, and I wanted to, the Leagues Cups games, because I know that some teams took a little more serious, and it is still your most recent form that goes over the past month and a half. So our last 5 games, loss, win, loss, loss, win. Orlando is win, draw, win, loss, win. So I would say the biggest general key for us in all of this is we need to be riding that momentum from Sunday night, while not burning ourselves out in another hot one. It's going to be 94 degrees down in Orlando. So use that intensity, but use it wisely. Don't be sprinting all over the field to where we get a cramp or someone goes down early. And I think we have a lot of guys that may be coming back off of injury and maybe getting some minutes. So it's really maintaining that and using that energy in the right moments.
Yeah, I would agree. Picking your moments, just like we heard in the post game from some of the guys on the team. But offensively, I think we have it right here. Let's set the tone early. Come out and play and actually generate some early chances, put them under some pressure. But at the same time, also trying to stay loose as well. This is a long game. And obviously, it's going to be pretty hot. I think, Justin, you put in here, it's going to be about 94 as a high in Orlando on Saturday. This game's at 6:30 local time for us, so which is actually very, very nice. But you definitely can't go in there and overdo it to start, because that's how you end up in the 75th minute, cramps, people clicking off, forgetting their job or forgetting their assignment, and we end up conceding goals. So I want to see us kind of pace ourselves a little bit and not lose this one early. Be in this game, make it a game for at least the second half, because we know they're deficient in the second half. So get there. Defensively, same thing. You cannot concede early. Do not concede early to this team. You got to make sure we play to our strengths. Everyone's got their jobs all hashed out. And like you just got to get to that second half, I feel like. And we've done it before against good teams. Orlando is a good team. We've just got to get to that second half and not lose our heads or not make a mistake that causes us to go out and lose this game on our own doing. Like make them beat us.
And one of those mistakes is that we should not be ball watching.
Ooh.
I'm going to make the same joke, Jake,
Yep.
but I'm serious. So a stat to follow this up with, Orlando is second in the entire MLS with 47 assists. We are fifth with 38, but we have 12 more goals than them. So you know that these guys are working off the ball, a lot of ticky-tacky up top in final third balls. So we need to make sure that we stay with our runners and don't get caught ball watching and then close out the game. I think the main role for me the rest of this season, I mean, it's going to be impossible not to give up a goal after the 75th minute, but I would like to give up less than like 4 out of the next 10 games. Is that possible? Is that even doable? Can we do that? I feel like we gave up 3 in the last game alone. That's something we really need to get a hold of quickly.
Good goal. I like that. That's bulletin board material right there. And it should be a goal. That's not us just bantering around. I think that's a legitimate thing that we should be trying to do.
Yeah.
Before the playoffs, obviously, because you cannot have that happening then.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to make a quick mention before we go to start 11 is I think my thought here is to maybe how we solve that leaky defense in the late game is we might need to try to introduce some possession into our system for situations like that, because it'd have been so nice to be able to possess the ball and not just have to kick it to the corner or just hope someone can dribble 90 yards to relieve the pressure that we're soaking in late in the game. I think we've got to be able to have some composure on the ball, connect a few passes, and play out of situations versus just relying on individual play. And I know that's easier said than done, but that's kind of what I've been thinking about, something that hopefully Carnell and coaching staff are trying to think about how we can manage those moments, because we seem to kind of lose it a little bit.
I would agree. Right. And I think that's one thing that when we do that, if guys come in as subs, which now we can get into the starting 11, they need to make sure that they're ready to go. And it's got to be crisp, because it's just one bad pass away, especially when these guys are trying to counter and they're in. And then before you know it, we're giving up one of those late goals. But quickly before starting 11s, Jake, quick plugs. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Do it on Apple, do it on Spotify, do it everywhere. Yeah, everywhere the arrows go. Then you can go to series6company.com for 15% off all the cool merch from St. Louis. 20% off is souljuice.com online, or you can go get it in Deerbergs. And then get to the pitch. It's a 6:30 game this Saturday night. Get there early, grab one of those lounges that we always have, get some dinner, get a frozen Irish coffee, enjoy it with the family. Watch us take on Orlando.
Love it. Love it. Well, who are you be watching, Justin? Starting 11 predictions here. I'm going to just spit mine out because I think this is probably pretty close what's going to happen. I'm going to go back to Berkey, Hebert, Parker, and Watts. The second center back is where I'm debating. I don't know whether to go with Nilsson. My feeling is that I don't think Carnell is going to give him the start. But I do think that he is probably guaranteed to start from here on out after this game. So I'm going to go back to Yarrow for this one, even though I know that he's come out and said that Nilsson is maybe ready for a start, not ready for 90 minutes. So that's my back 4 and goalkeeper. Midfield, let me just round this out. No Blum, obviously, because yellow card accumulation, so he'll be missing this one. So I'm going Indy coming in to play in Blum's absence. I don't know where that brings Leuven in that mix of who's going to play, or is it like a double pivot, like a 4-2-3-1 situation? Maybe it will be. So I've got Leuven and Indy kind of in that double, and then I've got Azio playing at the spear for them, and then I'm going back to Stroud Alm on my wings and bringing Gioacchini back into the striker position just because of his performance last week. And it's tough to sit a Dinaran, but he made a big impact off the bench last week, so why not do it again?
Yeah, no, I would agree. And then, I mean, we might have Klaus as well. So that's going to be a rotational thing with a hot game after we just played a hot one here in St. Louis. I'm going to take a little bit of bolder approach in the back line.
Go bold.
I'm going John Bell on the left. And I think I'm actually going to go Parker. I'll go. And then I'll stick with Yarrow and Watts as well. I think we're going to keep that. I agree with you. I do think it's why push Nilsson. Let's give him one more go at getting some fresh legs in an MLS game. I would agree, Leuven and Indy, and then Stroud, Jackson. I'm going to go Ostrak on the right. I think that goal gave him a little bit of a life. He's got more legs now, and then we're going to go Nico up top.
So who's your center back pairing again, just so I'm clear?
I have Parker and Yarrow.
Oh, you have Parker and Yarrow. So I thought you're not going Bell.
I'm going Bell on the left. I'm good.
Hebert out. Left back.
I'm getting some size and speed in there, and then I'm still sticking with Watts on the right. I just
I'm
want
down
to.
with that.
The left back's been rotational, so
Yeah.
I mean, either that or I'd push Hebert to the middle with Parker and then go Bell on the left. I just think Josh didn't show me enough on that last one. I would like to see a little bit more of John Bell.
That's a good shout. I know Bell, I don't think he made the bench last weekend, so I don't know what his situation is because obviously we have a lot of center backs now, but you'd love to see flexibility from him. And I think we've played him there maybe like in the Open Cup or something before. So I would like to see that, honestly. I'm very open to that because it adds height, it adds dynamic ability. We know he's athletic as hell. So I'm down for that experiment.
All right, you're right. He did not make the bench. I would hope that he does, but that would mean we'd probably have to kick somebody considering we have Nilsson, because also who was on the bench that was not used? Anthony Markinick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would not be surprised if he gets some minutes as well down there.
Yeah, I think left back is probably the position that you could see the most change in this game, obviously other than the center back with Nilsson coming back into health. But good to have Klaus back. It sounds like he'll make the bench for this one. I've been trying to be as honest as possible and conservative here, but it looks like we're finally at the end of the tunnel. But you know what? I'm going to have to see it to believe it. So show me on Saturday when he gets some minutes. But Justin, predictions, Grahammer time. Let's talk through it. I've got a 2-2 draw on my list here. I think there will be goals. Both these teams clearly can score, but both of them also clearly can be scored against. So I honestly think if that even happened, I'd be very happy taking a point out of Orlando.
I'm going with a 2-1 dub, and I'm actually going to be a little bit more negative on this one. I think we go down in the first half. We're down 1-0 at halftime, and we pull it out in the second half.
Okay.
And I will say a little, and I'll hold on to what my little sprinkle will be there. But yeah, I think that we score. I agree. I think they give up more goals in the second half, 2/3 of their goals. I think we could score those there, especially when we're bringing on a Danaran, Klaus, if it's Alm or Ostrak, and Celio as well. Like, we're just going to bring some legs, and we just have too much firepower.
Yeah, I'm with you. So line to this game, City's currently sitting at plus 235. So they're the dog in this one. Orlando at minus 105, draw at plus 255. And the over, obviously, going to be pretty big in this one at minus 145. So over 2.5 is at minus 145 and the under at plus 110. Justin, let's talk through the bets. I think we've talked about the second half a lot on this. It would be crazy if we didn't have a bet on this. I'm going to go, I bet money line last week. I'm going just City to score in the second half at minus 120, which I feel like is pretty good value considering our goal scoring record and their goal conceding record in the second half.
If we want a chance at this game, I think we have to score in the second half. Yep. We're not scoring 2 or 3 in the first. I would say my bet, Jake, whenever we're heavy dogs, my first look is going double chance, and I like it. It's not juicy enough, so I like it. Minus 135, so us to either tie or win there. And, Jake, I'm going to still take it, even though we're away. City over 1.5 goals. Plus 160 is rude. We just scored 6 goals. Like, I'm just us to score 2. And plus 160, love to see. We've done it in 14 of our 24 games, so it's worth it for me. I will do a little sprinkle on the money line just because we're hot, and a little sprinkle on a Klaus anytime, as long as the books don't completely screw it. Klaus was the favorite to score last game, and he wasn't going to play. So as long as they don't keep it like a plus 150, if he's like a plus 200, plus 300, I'll take a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. That'll be
because if he doesn't play, it's null.
Because you know that if he gets on the field, he's coming out ready to go. Like he's going to be so excited to get out there.
He doesn't like when his mother cries. He wants to make someone else's mother
People
cry.
forget that. He's been gone for so long.
Yeah.
So, hey, thank you all for joining the show today. It's been a good preview. I'm really excited for Saturday. I think this is the best team we've played in a while. So I'm excited to see us stack against a team that's holding a pretty good position in a really solid conference right now. So, and it's an away game. So any points you can collect from an away game are points you gladly take. So I would take, 1 definitely here. And I think so would Carnell and anyone going home. So with limited home matches as well, you got to just collect a couple points here on the road to finish out the season. So with that said, thank you all for joining today. It's been a good show. I'm excited to watch this game. Apple TV going to be out on Saturday night. It's going to be a good time. Justin, any final thoughts before we close it out?
No, I mean, just enjoy it, everybody. I appreciate it. Now, stay cold. It's extremely hot out there. Also, if you have any ideas or you have bets, send them our way. We love it. If you want me to bet it, I'll bet it, as long as it's not outrageous. So let's try it.
Love it. All right. With that said, that is all we have for today. Everyone take care, stay cool, and we will chat with you on Sunday to follow this game. All for City.
All for City.